Hey, everybody. Hey, everyone. Thank you for being here. Super excited for this conversation. This conversation, I'm going to be revealing some of the things that have cost me, oh, my lordy, like some of the most painful things that I've ever gone through. And I'm going to be sharing these with you because this is so important for us to learn how to navigate through these things called these wonderful thresholds that we have in our lives. So if you're just checking in, type in live or replay, please, if you could tell me that. And then also where you're checking in from, I would love to see where all my friends are joining me from. And I appreciate you taking your valuable time and being a part of this conversation tonight, because this is the thing that most people hang on to that keeps them from stepping into their greatness. And I want to talk about a lot of things. And friends, understand there's things that I am not able to share on these platforms because there are bigger agendas out there that don't want to have the truth revealed out there. So if you want to explore some of the things that I'm going to be sharing on this conversation, then by all means, what I would encourage you to do is message me, right? Because I am very good about answering all my messages, and I want to do everything I can to support everybody here. In fact, somebody just commented on the post for this video, and they were talking about having cancer. And friends, understand that cancer is a strategy. Okay. And if you would like to learn more about that, then by all means, send me a DM. See, friend, I want to share something with you. We have been so indoctrinated to believe what is possible in our developmental years. And because there's bigger agendas that are supporting some other agendas, that we don't even give ourselves the opportunity to really recognize that there's alternatives out there. Just think about that. Alternative medicine. And like, wow, that's an alternative to what has worked for a very, very long time, until certain things started coming in and making us believe what was possible and what's not possible. Okay. I have a case study that would blow out any model of the world for anybody that has cancer. If you are open to receiving that, then by all means, send me a DM. In fact, I even sent this. There's a woman that's on TikTok that's talking about her journey with having cancer and talking about her days. And just think about what she's doing. Friends, understand this. Every single cell in your body, is being guided by your thoughts. It's like a satellite being guided by your thoughts. Mr. Andy Falco is in the house. I appreciate you being here, brother. But understand that every single cell in your body is being guided. It's like a satellite being guided by your thoughts, right? And so it's going to conform to what you believe is possible. So I would just get you to think about that a little bit, because I have some case studies that will blow out your model of the world. And that's not my intent, but my intent is that there is other ways to look at that. Because the greatest setback of all time, what is the greatest setback of all time? And you can I would appreciate it if somebody could comment in here. What is the greatest setback of your life? What has been the thing that has taken you out more than anything? Because it's really important that we can look at these things, because when you're in the middle of the setback, you want to be anywhere else but where you're at. And see, understanding that what determines how well you accelerate through the lesson is your resistance to it. What determines the time that it takes to accelerate through a lesson is your resistance to it. Okay. And I get it. Like, I got a PhD in resistance. Like, there's many things that I would rather be anywhere than where I was at. But see, the things that we don't want to look at are the very things that weigh us down. And then they'll get to a point where they'll hit crisis mode. And I've had this happen more times than I cared, like in bankruptcies, divorces, relationships going south, almost ended my sisters in my own life in a car accident, right? It's what we don't pay attention to. What we don't pay attention to is going to reveal itself in ways that we don't want it to have it be revealed, right? And this is where the greatest setback is not recognizing the value of the journey, right? Now, there's been things that have happened. Yes, the moments of doubt were the cause of my biggest setbacks. Yes. And thank you for saying that, Andy. And think about this. Doubt destroys more dreams than failure ever will. Doubt destroys more dreams than failure ever will. And what I mean by that is, so here we are, this is where we're at. This is where we want to be. And as soon as we start moving towards where we want to be, all the things that we've been committed to up until that point starts being animated within ourselves, right? We don't understand we're connected to chains until we start moving, right? So as soon as we start moving towards this, we start finding out all the things that we have enrolled ourselves into that has kept us from being able to be committed to this. Okay, so as soon as we start moving into this area, so think about too many people, and again, this is my journey. This has been my journey as well. What do you want in your life? What do you want in your life? And then let's look at the different domains of your life. So you have health, you have relationship, you have family, you have career, you have spirituality, and you have personal development. Those are the 6 main domains of your life. What do you want in each one of those domains of life? And then sit with that and then pay attention to what comes up right after you start getting clear about what it is that you really want. Because that's the part of you that wants to be transcended, right? Because if you were raised in an environment, or no, environment doesn't necessarily mean just your immediate family, right? It could be the environment of going to school. It could be the environment of being at your friend's house. Could be being at church. Like there's lots of different things that impacted how you took on these programs. And I like to use them as apps, right? So like thinking of your phone has an operating system, right? And within that operating system, there are apps that perform certain functionalities, right? So if you are the operating system, but you took on these programs at a time in your life that was required to get you through that lesson at that time. However, when you are over here and you're moving through different thresholds in your life, those apps are not going to support you in getting through wherever it is that you're at this time in your life. But see, this is what most people do. What they'll do is they run it through duality, which is we've been conditioned to believe like it's the left wing or it's the right wing, right? That's a very limited level of understanding. It's being able to look at, it's not what to believe. It's not what to believe, it's how to believe. Right? Because within each of those apps, there are resources that are available to you that can support you in moving to where you are now and being able to let go of other things. So here's another one of the greatest setbacks of all time, right? What is it that keeps us from letting go of beliefs that we've created in the past? What is it? Okay, so think about this. If you have children, okay, and you have your child out there, like say your child's 7, 8 years old, right? And it's out playing a sport with other children. What child are you paying attention to? Well, if you're like most parents, you're paying attention to your child. Now, that doesn't mean that you're insensitive or you don't care about the other kids or anything like that, but you have a bias towards your child, right? Why is it that you have a bias towards your child? Right? Just like think about that for a minute. It's because you were part of the creation of bringing that child in there. And that child is also a part of who you are, right? Now think about this. Why do we hang on to beliefs? Because we created them. We created them. And if we have narratives and certain beliefs about being wrong, friends, like me working with clients, this is one of the 2 things that come up more than anything is the failure, like their narrative about failure. What does failure mean to you? Right? Like just look at what is the meaning you've attached to that. Right? And if you dig deep enough, failure, if I fail, that means that I am, okay, fill in that blank. If I fail, that means that I am, and whatever that means to you, right? Because this is how you get into the question compels the answer, right? So what really is the greatest setback of all time is all these things that we have identified ourselves to be and never given ourselves the opportunity to look at what is this belief that I've created, and then how do I transition through that to step into the greatest version of who I am, right? This is so mission critical, my friend, because you are where does belief comes from? Let's talk about that. Anybody want to tell me what a belief is and where do they come from? Right? This is super important that we understand this because your beliefs are the subcategory of what you value. Okay. Case in point, every decision you make, every single decision you make is literally clarifying what you truly value. Now, you might not be conscious of what it is that you truly value, right? But when you are put into a crisis, that is in that crisis, it is going to be revealed to you what you truly value. So case in point, I got a client, very powered up entrepreneur. She's done lots of amazing things, had thousands of employees, created lots and lots and lots of businesses. Okay. Well, she's going through this season of her life, and now she's let go of that and she's stepped into coaching full time. She actually charges more than I do now, which I think is just amazing. But she is having conversations with her son, and her son is going, Mom, you abandoned me in this season of my life, and has lots of resentment and lots of charge around that because he believes that his mom abandoned him at a certain age of his life. Well, if you look at it and go, okay, cool. Well, how much time should she been have spending with him? That makes sense of why he would feel that. But see, here's the important thing. This is important. This is really, really, really important, friends, to understand. The decision she made was made because of what she had to value at that time. And at that time of her life, in that season of her life, she had to operate a business. She ended a marriage, and she had to do everything she could to put food on the table. Okay. So think about that. Every decision we make is a reflection of what we truly value in that time. And understand, really get in touch with what your intention is, right? Like, a child's not going to understand that I have to do everything I have to provide food for that, because it's just not in that level of consciousness of the child. But the child is going to make all kinds of programs and apps to make sense of what's going on. And this is so poignant. This is so good. What determines how emotional you get about something? What determines how emotional you get about something? Anybody wants to drop that in here? That would be great, because this is going to be powerful, my friends. What determines how emotional you get about something? Now, don't you think that would be something that would be important for us to be taught if the educational system was really wanting to support us to be into our greatest version? Okay, the educational system isn't, by the way. The educational wants to create workers. Just FYI, of course, I'll probably get kicked back on TikTok for that, for sharing the truth, but that's what it is, right? What determines how emotional we get about something? Okay, it is how associated we are to it. Now, what determines how associated we are with something, right? It's how personal we take it. Okay, as a child, we do not understand the difference between us and our environment. A child, our subconscious development, 75% of what we know is by the age of 5. Okay, 75% of what we know is by the age of 5. Okay, as a child, we take everything personally. We take everything personally because we haven't had the conscious ability or the filtering system developed yet to understand that adults are making decisions based on what they believe is necessary at that time. But as a child, we'll go, there's something wrong with me. This is why this is happening. And see, understand that we have made decisions about money. We have made decisions about love. We have made decisions about relationships. We have made decisions about how we show up in life. We have made decisions about my creativity, what is possible, how I trust myself in the uncomfortable. We made all of these decisions by the time we're 5 years old. Okay. And then, so these are all the apps that were created at that level of our life. And then we go out into the real world and start moving into areas that are unfamiliar. But what we're accessing is all the apps that we created back there. Okay. This is what impacts our ability to accelerate into areas that we don't want. What determines the time it takes for us to accelerate things is our resistance to it. Anytime we have resistance, and friends, I've done lots of this, and this is what I do with my clients, right? The resistance is the threshold that is holding us back from experiencing what the wound was created. Okay. And so how much of your life, here's a great question. How much of your life, or what percentage of your life, have you spent protecting yourself from being hurt? What percentage of your life have you spent protecting yourself from being hurt, from pain? Right? For me, like, I have a PhD in that one. Like, I ended up calling myself an iron-coated marshmallow. Like, I got really muscular, and I've got lots of background in martial arts and stuff like that. And I just had one of these looks on my face, like, you mess with me, it is going to be a very bad day for you, right? And I didn't get into a lot of fights just because of the energy that I put out there, right? But see, also that energy created what it created. And I was like, why doesn't anybody want to be around me? Because I intimidated the heck out of them, right? Like, I can still get in this face. Like, when I get really serious, it looks like I got this death look on my face, but I'm so deep into concentration, and people are just like, just leave Jeff alone. And it's like, please Please, I'm not some evil person, right? But I get it. Like there's certain things that muscle memory that I've had from being that way for so much of my life that I have to make a conscious effort to go, how am I showing up? Because how I show up determines how people approach me. Okay. This is so important because how you see somebody is going to determine how that person responds to you. Now, let me explain. So now I have not had too many experiences of prejudice in myself. Okay. Like I come from Utah and then I went to North Dakota. And I've never been a prejudiced person. Well, I have. I'm very prejudiced against people that want to stay in the victim mode. So I'm just being real. Right. And so, yeah, resting badass face. Yes, that would be a way to put it, Andy. So thinking about this, I come out to California. This was back in the late 90s. Okay. I come out to California and I'm stopping at a gas station and I've been shaving my head for almost 30 years now, right? And I stop off at this gas station and this guy walks in and he's just like all bright-eyed and I was just like, dude, what's up? And he's like, dude, I highly recommend that you get out of here because they don't like people like you around here. And I was like, what do you mean? Right? And so what he was saying was he thought I was a white supremacist. He thought I was a white supremacist because they shaved their head and recency and primacy determines what you perceive in that moment, right? So he could have just watched the video. I don't know what video it was. I didn't even know what was really going on. And then later on, as I start thinking about people project their fears onto everybody else if they're wanting to protect themselves, right? And so what's important for you is if so him coming up to me like that, he's going to be projecting off an energy of I need to defend myself. Guess what? I'm going to feel that. And so then I'm going to go into protect mode and then just waiting for the ball to drop and then it ignites, right? Like, or you can look at a biker. Like I love motorcycles. So, but if you look at a biker all dressed up in leather, long hair, tattoos, all that stuff, and he's got this look like, don't mess with me. And you think that he is going to be someone that's going to harm you, you're going to give off that vibration. Now, when I see one, it's like, dude, what's up, man? What kind of bike you got? Like, and being able to hold space for them. And you can see that it impacts them because they have been so conditioned to be perceived how most, and think about what is it that they really want people to perceive. Like most people, again, I was an iron coated marshmallow, right? I gave off this vibration of don't come near me, right? But because I was so hurt inside, because I understand that journey, I can walk up to other people and understand why they do what they do and understand that, hey, I'm here, I'm your friend, man. We're on the same team. Don't worry. I got you. I got your back, right? So the greatest setback is not recognizing how we show up in life. See, friends, understand this. This is so important. Life doesn't happen to us and life doesn't happen for us, right? We have all been, oh, well, life happens for us. And like, I don't have problems. I have challenges. Okay, cool. Whatever, like whatever works for you, right? Life does not happen to us or for us, right? Life happens through us. It happens through us. And when you start understanding more and more about quantum, holy moly, right? Like just look up the Heisenberg principle, right? Like you are projecting out there what you expect to receive, right? And if you start looking at things vibrationally, look at everything as vibration, frequency, and energy, your life will absolutely explode, right? Like we attract into our lives the things that are going to teach us the lessons so that we can go to another level. Somebody mentioned The Secret up there. That's for sure real. And that's very elementary understanding. I would encourage everybody to go look up and watch the movie What the Bleep. I would encourage you to go watch Joe Dispenza's TED Talk, because we are vibrational beings, right? We're actually electromagnetic beings, and every thought is the electrical part, and the emotions that we have inside of us are what's going to attract into our lives what's going to teach us the lesson we need to teach, right? And I've attracted a dark witch into my life that lived with me for 2 years. That was hell, right? And I didn't understand how I created that. But see, friends, understand this. This is my mission. My mission is to teach people how they're being influenced. It's giving them the awareness so that they can actually see when they're being influenced. Because if you don't understand influence, it's being used on you, right? So that's why that's why I've created this whole ROI Accelerator Challenge that I'm going to be doing here real soon. I'm actually going to be pushing it back a couple of weeks because I'm creating some really, really special stuff that I'm going to be sharing with everybody on that. So you want to learn about remembering your greatness, remembering. So going back to the question, what creates a belief? What creates a belief? Authority, intensity, and repetition. Okay. Authority, intensity, and repetition. Okay. That's what creates a belief. And in the ROI Accelerator Challenge, I'm going to go into a whole other thing about how you can take what it is you value and changing all that because your beliefs go with it and all that. But that's beyond this conversation. So let's look at the authority aspect of it. Okay. 75% of what you know was by the age of 5. Okay. So you were raised by whoever you were raised by, you experienced whatever it is that you experienced, right? And then when we get to 7 to 14, this is our modeling year. So we're looking outside of ourselves going, who do I get to be, right? But see, understand, look at the first part of the word authority. It says author. It says author, right? Somebody authored what you believe is possible. Somebody else had their pen and they wrote out all the apps that you're going to use for 75% of what you know. Somebody else wrote out that script. Okay. 2 things. These are the 2 things. 2 things that control the quality of your life. These are the 2 things, and these are the only 2 things that determine the quality of your life, right? Is the images you have in your head and the movies you play in your head. And the other one is the scripts you tell yourself. Those are the 2 things that determines the quality of your life. Hands down, unbarred, right? So go back to, so it's authority, intensity, and repetition. So think about this. So my dad, I would put my dad up against anybody as far as it comes to driving an 18-wheeler. My dad's done it all his life. And it's something I love driving. Like I've been driving since I was 4 years old. I was put on a motorcycle and ATVs and all kinds of stuff. And I just love driving, right? But when it comes to my dad, hands down, one of the best drivers I've ever seen. Okay. And so there was something that, like, I've done lots of work on me, let go of trauma, lots of different things that have happened to me. I've let go of a lot of it, as much as I can up to this point. Right. And when I'd go into metropolis areas, I would get this anxiousness. Like I would have this part of me come up like, what is this? I just felt all this anxiety come up inside of me. I didn't understand what was going on. And so this is why I want to teach you to remember, like the R in ROI Accelerator Challenge is to remember, right? Like your greatness, right? So when I was a child, we used to drive from Utah to North Dakota or North Dakota to Utah, like back and forth, right? Back in the day before there was GPSs, they had maps and we're looking at this big map and driving down the road, right? Well, I used to sit next to my dad. Like I loved sitting next to him. And like we had a very tumultuous relationship. My dad was an alcoholic, like it was crazy, right? But anyway, so I'm driving into these metropolis areas and I'm going, where is this anxiety coming from? Well, so I'm down in Utah or Arizona, and I hadn't seen my dad in a while, and he's getting ready to leave. And I see him just start getting really anxious, almost like going into a panic attack. And I'm like, Dad, what's up? And he couldn't figure out how to operate the GPS. Now, his wife had programmed the GPS so that he could go to the airport from where he was at. And he just went into this like, I can't figure this out. So I helped him out and supported him. I was like, okay, cool, Dad, got it. Don't worry about it. Got the GPS set up, put it back in the Mustang. He starts driving off and it went boom. That's where I got it from. That's where I got it from when I was a child. If my dad felt like he was being lost, he started feeling anxious and anxiety. I'm sitting next to him. Energy and vibration penetrates everything. So I literally took on that vibration as a child. Okay. Me not having the awareness, I would have never, ever figured that out. Never, ever figured that out. Right. So when you start looking at everything as energy and vibration. So think about this. You come home. Nobody's ever experienced this but me, I'm sure. But you come home and you're hungry and you're tired. Right. And you're giving off a certain frequency. Guess what? Your children are operating on total intuition. Right? Like their communication is like, right? And as when time goes on, like their first 2-3 years, communication is very, 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 very limited. So they're experiencing the energy and vibration you're giving off. And that child's going, uh-oh, this feels gooey, icky. It's got to be something about me. I've got to be something wrong with me. Right. And this is what I do as a coach. Like I get down and find out what the roots are. Friends, I've had people make decisions about their own identity in being in the womb. Like I did that work with me with somebody else. Like, understand when you are in the womb, you are literally feeling everything the mother feels. Every single thing the mother feels, you are feeling it inside of the womb. Just FYI, think about that. They're now discovering how much trauma actually a baby goes through when it's being birthed. Like, you think the most horrific thing that you have ever gone through, you've already gone through, and not ever going to have to go through something that horrific again. Just being birthed. Just being birthed. Think about that. Like, you're in this nice, warm, cozy, like right next to mom's heart. You're inside going, oh, this is great. And then however you're born, either C-section or natural birth, like all of a sudden you go through whatever that experience is, you come out of the sack and all that stuff. And it was just like, boom. And all of a sudden you're in this room and it's like, what in the world? Like, that is a major, major shock to your system. Major shock to your system, right? And guess what? You made it. You made it, right? And then learning how to walk, and then learning how to ride a bike. Like, all these things, how many things do we not risk because we're afraid of failure, right? But it's the doubt that stops us living our dream, that doesn't even get us to this whole thing about failure. Friends, failure is an illusion. It's absolutely an illusion. What you're actually afraid of is the emotion that you experienced as a child that created humiliation. That's what you're actually afraid of. And you have deemed it as failure, right? It's not failure. It's feedback, right? So the more you're able to step into understanding, remember what I said, what creates a belief? Authority, intensity, and repetition, right? So the intensity, that's why I shared you the story with my dad. That was an intense vibration that I was experiencing from my dad. Like, I didn't know what was going on with him. I could just tell. I couldn't tell, right? Like, he might have been nervous or whatever, but see, logically, I'm going, my dad's amazing when it comes to driving. Why am I experiencing this? Because my intuitional stuff took that on as a child. Okay. Intensity. So that's the intensity aspect. Repetition. How many times have you told something, right? Like, I've known people like dyslexia. Oh my gosh. Like, what people go through that were dyslexia in an environment that didn't understand. Dyslexia isn't a learning disability. It's a teaching disability, because people didn't know how to deal with people with dyslexia. Yeah, this is a cult. Absolutely, this is a cult. This is a cult to step into your greatness and teach you how to step into your most awesome version of who you are. So that answers your question there, Bobby. Appreciate you asking the question. So it's really understanding you are the authority of your life. You are the authority. So you get to grab back the pen. Because, see, understand, every single experience you have, what determines the quality of that experience is how you narrate it. And how we narrate it is based on automatic patterns that we have that again, the apps we created that release a certain chemical cocktail that we get familiar with. Right? And see, I love it when we talk about addictions, right? Like, we're all addicted to something. We're addicted to thought patterns. We're addicted to emotions. We're addicted to whatever. There's lots of them. Addiction is nothing more than overcompensating for the suffering inside of us. That's it. That's all addiction is. Now, obviously, there's more addictions that go a lot more extreme, right? But that's what's happening. And addiction is an overcompensation for a wound that's within inside of us, right? And that's where I say, the further apart you get from your inside to your outside, the more you're going to suffer, the more you're going to suffer, the more you're going to want to look outside of yourself to fulfill and make that suffering go away, okay? So that's what I want to support you. The greatest setback is not recognizing you are the author. Right. And the greatest skill that you can develop, this is it. Okay. One is understanding you're the authority of your life, right? You are the ones that are controlling the scripts and the images that you play in your head. Right. So, like, when we're going to go ask somebody out, it's not asking them out that we're afraid of. We're afraid of all the scenarios that we run inside of our head. That's what we're afraid of, right? Like going and asking for a promotion in our job. It's not the actual asking the promotion. It's all the stuff we tell ourselves before going and doing it, right? So here's a strategy I can support you with that. Focus on the desired outcome. That's what you want to do. Focus on the desired outcome. What is it that you actually want to create in this experience, right? That can support you immensely, right? So put your energy on that. And then understand learning how to love into the pain, right? Loving into the pain is this, okay? Is that you are the author of your life, right? So therefore you are the one that's creating the narrative, right? The more you own that and take that on, the more you're going to understand that it is you that is creating the narrative that creates pain. Okay. Yes, grief, sadness, all that stuff is an actual natural part of who we are. But it's when we stay in it where it becomes toxic, right? Because cortisol is the hormone that breaks down our body, right? And cortisol is released when we keep putting ourselves in the victim story, into the I can't do anything story, I'm not enough story, right? So it's really looking at, that's why I said, when I fail, that means that I am. See, and now you're starting to get down into root programs that play and are entangled into the operating system that keeps creating the life that you keep getting, right? It's not about you. Again, as I am, so it is. As I am, so it is. Angela, it is so great to see you, right? So really, really take true inventory of who you are and what's really going on. The greatest setback is to believe that life is outside of here. No, your life happens inside of here. That's where your greatest setback is. And so, friends, and I'll just leave you with this. It just happened a couple of years ago. Like I had my car accident it's almost 34 years ago. I had my car accident, right? And that me letting go what I almost did. I almost ended my sister's life, but I seriously injured her. Like she's got physical ailments today as a result of that car accident, right? That has taken me decades to transition through that, right? And so these last couple of years has taken me to a whole other level. I didn't even allow myself to be able to see how I was impacted by the relationship that she had with my parents up until just a couple of years ago. Because who am I to be able to have what I have, knowing that I did to what I did to my sister, right? And again, forgiveness is layers, right? And what does it mean to forgive somebody, right? Well, I just forgive you. Okay, cool. Let's play that out. Let's see how that's showing up in your life, right? Forgiveness is a process. It's unpacking the levels of what it is that has that happen. I had a gal that I met at this other training where I learned another modality for coaching. And I shared her with my story, and I'm driving down the road. And she's like, "Tell me your story, and like what got you into this realm of being the coach that you are and stuff like that." So I'm just telling her, like, look, I had a car accident with my sister, and when I was 19 and went through this whole journey. I looked over her. She was literally ghost white. Like she had seen a ghost. And I looked at her and I says, "Are you okay?" And she goes, I can't even talk. I can barely even breathe right now. And I'm like, what's going on with you? All right. How can I support you? And she says, I need to talk to you. So we get to the coffee shop where we were going, and she sits down, and I said, what's going on? What landed for you as I was telling you my story? And she starts telling this story when she was 16 years old, and she had an eating disorder. Which any disorder we have tons of shame attached to it. And I say it that way very intentionally. Shame is of darkness, okay? And she goes, my brother was sleeping in the back seat of the car, and my mom was sitting next to me, and I'm driving, learning how to drive. She's 16 years old. And she said I had an eating disorder, so I had this donut that was stuffed underneath the seat. And they're driving, and her mom reached back to grab a tab out of the cooler or whatever. Well, when her mom reached back, her mom wasn't looking, so she reached under the seat to grab that donut. And when she reached under that seat to grab that donut, she lost control of the car. She lost control of this car. It spun across two highways and slammed into a telephone pole. Ended her brother's life. And she's never been able to talk to anybody about that until somebody shows up and shares his story about what he's gone through. And it was able to have an opportunity where somebody could relate to what she experienced. I mean, it was like I was driving home that night, and I just wept and I just cried. And I was just like, if my whole life, if I ever felt like I had purpose in my life, that one moment made everything worth that I had gone through to transcend what I had transcended, to put myself in a position to give her a space that she could actually let go of tons of regret. Okay. Our greatest setback is not looking at what's holding us back, but to understand we are the author of our lives. Okay. So I really want to support everybody. by going to the ROIacceleratorchallenge.com. This is going to be a 3-day workshop challenge that I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to be sharing. Remember who you really are. Always for optimize all domains of your life so that you can step into your resourcefulness easily, effectively. And then the I is so that you're able to, it's about influence, you being able to influence yourself so that you're able to influence people in a way that captivates them. Yes, absolutely. Yes, great. People are afraid to be vulnerable a lot of the times. Absolutely. And us being vulnerable is our greatest strength, because this is your journey. This is your story. And being vulnerable impacts people to the core, right? Like I remember an event that I went to, Brendan Bouchard's Experts Academy. Chalene Johnson got up there. Amazing story. Talked about lots of great things, lots of energy, and woo, 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 like making all this stuff happen. But the only thing I remember her about her entire story, she was talking about, she was on the phone making another multi-million-dollar deal, making a multi-million-dollar deal. And she looked down and her daughter's looking up to her with gator tears in her eyes. And Shalene just like stood there in a moment, like, what the heck's going on with my daughter? And her daughter's just weeping. And she goes, Mom, are you going to make another deal that takes us away from you, takes you away from us? That's the only thing I remember out of her whole speech. Why? Because it yanked on my heartstrings massively. Massively. Metal Edge, I see you asking me to invite, brother. I want to do a show with you. Absolutely. I got to get running because I got to end the show, but I appreciate the invite. We will do a show together for sure. Absolutely, brother. I appreciate you being here. Okay. So everybody, if you really want to take your greatest asset, which is your story, and really take it to a whole other level and see how you can leverage it and understand what your whole purpose in life is, then get over to the ROIacceleratorchallenge.com, ROIacceleratorchallenge.com, sign up. It's $1. It's $1. I would encourage you to do the VIP for $47 because I give you lots and lots of bonuses and lots of coaching that I'm going to be giving away with that as well. Appreciate everybody being here. Much love to each and every one of you. And as always, live like your life depends on it, because it does. This is your life. This is not a dress rehearsal. This is your life. You are the only person you spend every moment of your life with. Make it the most rich relationship you have. Be blessed, my friends. I love each and every one of you, and I appreciate you being here.